What if aging was not the enemy, but a wake-up call? A former addict turned elite coach, Grayson, is going to share the raw truth and the simple tools and the habit-based strategies to help you defy mainstream aging and turn your life around so that you can reverse age. You want to tune into this chapter, learn about realigning your health in this episode with Grayson Choate.
As always, Kelly, well said. Let's get to this episode. Okay, welcome back to our Fit Over 50 podcast. Hey, Grayson, welcome to our family today. Looking forward to hearing a lot about you. Hey, Kelly, what's going on?
Hey, all kinds of good stuff. It is summer. It is fun.
It is summer, so why don't we get kick rolling here? Why don't you introduce our audience to Grayson, and we could dig right into what our topic is today.
Absolutely, yes. So Grayson Choate is the founder of Vibes Lifestyle, which is the Next Gen Wellness Center here in Texas. And he blends movement, recovery, breath work, mindset, and he really does help people thrive. So we're going to talk a little bit about aging and how he turned from an addict into one of the most elite coaches, and that he's just living proof that it's not too late for anyone. So Grayson, we're really excited to have you here. We know you're high energy. You're all about community and all things holistic. So welcome to the show.
Man, glad to be here. Blessed to be here. Blessed to be alive.
Yeah. Hey, Grayson, can you share? I always love to hear the story behind the story of what you went through. Maybe you've shared it before, but I don't think our audience has heard it. So tell us a little bit about what's gone on in your life and how you use that to inspire others.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long, precarious journey, to say the least. But essentially, I just had a rough upbringing when I was a kid. Just some abuse, family divorce, and it was very chaotic. I won't go into too much detail on that because that's a whole story in itself. But it was a very chaotic upbringing as a child. I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I was prescribed a lot of medication. And that's relevant for what I will talk about later on. But essentially, I noticed it affected my emotions a lot. It made me feel empty inside, and it never really helped that much. My grades improved a little bit, but I just had a kind of a chaotic upbringing, and I always had trouble connecting with others. And unfortunately, as we go into college, you get involved in extracurricular activities. That leads to drinking. You know, I had alcohol for the first time when I was 18, and same thing with other drugs like MDMA. And that, as a very introverted person, it allowed me to be more social. It gave me allowance. It gave me leeway. I felt more comfortable with people. And at first, that's what it was used for. It was the social element, and that was a layer on top. But then, as anyone knows, with any type of addiction, the addiction replaces all the positive aspects of it. It becomes more about acquiring the thing to escape from your own mind, reality, situation, etc. And but yeah, that's kind of, and I was going in and out of these cycles for many years. I'm going to be honest with you, it's kind of a blur to a degree. Things get coupled together and meshed together after a while. But it was an ongoing struggle, and it took a lot of breakups, losing friendships, actual friends coming to me and be like, I'm not going to talk with you anymore if you continue with this lifestyle. Seeing people overdose in front of you and just seeing the breakdown of friendships, people betraying you, it slowly accumulated. And I was lucky enough to be able to step outside of that and see the situation and be like, if I don't change this now, I'm going to, I will be dead, most likely. Or one of these people around me is going to kill me. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're deep in that environment, it spirals, it compounds, right? That's something I truly believe. I think it's a principle that exists in nature in our brains. What we do, it starts to compound. You'll get better or worse at it, including picking bad friends and making bad decisions. And that can compound. It just, eventually I had the foresight to step out, and I had some good people around me that helped me pull me out of that situation. And I was able to start taking control of it. And then exercise was really the crux of all of it, though. My best friend, Austin, I started working out with him when he came back from rehab, and that kind of replaced his addiction, right? And he brought me into the gym, and I just saw the incredible change it had on him. He was a new person when he came. I mean, he was huge, tons of muscle, and he was just, his skin looked better. He looked so healthy. So he pulled me into that. And I'm one of those people, I used to play video games. So I'm big on like leveling. And with working out, it was an immediate feedback. I could see myself week to week kind of improving, and I got addicted to that process. And it kind of started from there. From there, everything started to branch out. I obsess about things. I like to know how things work, especially if it gives me a result, if it makes me feel good. And I just started wanting to learn as much as I could about the body and the brain.
Let me ask you a question. When it came to ADD, what drug did they put you on?
I believe at the time is Ritalin, and then that started causing significant stomach issues and sleep apnea as well as acid reflux, and they switched me to Adderall.
Okay. I do know this. I don't know the actual statistics, but I do know that there's an extremely high percentage of children that are put on those drugs that end up being addicted to other things later on in life, and so it's just crazy. So got to be careful with that stuff, but you work through that. The other thing you shared, I think, is really profound is you picked up exercise. And one of the things I learned when I was struggling with alcohol as I was going through a messy divorce is that there's something called endorphin deficit syndrome that a lot of people go through. You notice a lot of the celebrities who stopped drinking, like Brad Pitt, they all picked up like a really fit lifestyle. What's the other one from Iron Man? What's his name? Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.
He picked up one of the martial arts, and it all has to do with that endorphin deficit syndrome that you can replace with exercise. And so it's got to be a pretty good feeling, man. So, to get through all that stuff and then look back and say, how the hell did I get here? But I'm out of here. Now you use this to inspire others, I'm guessing.
Most definitely. I try to. And related to your point, I believe more, even now we're experiencing a cultural version of what you just described, which is basically everyone has our brains are inundated by stimuli to a degree that is unfathomable, and we are all extremely deficient serotonin, dopamine, as well as dopamine is essentially attached to other endorphins that help you regulate pain, modulate pain. They help give you meaning, experience. They make you want to try things and continue to try things. But most of this is now co-opted by screens because your brain cannot differentiate between what is real and what are images and music and stuff that's actually just impacting your emotions.
So what's your take on this? Is, I kind of believe, and you're welcome to disagree. I'm not looking for confirmation bias. I'm looking for you to share your beliefs as we share with our audience. I think a lot of us have become addicted to cortisol in this world. So it just seems like everybody's high strung. The cortisol produces the epinephrine, which produces the adrenaline, which leads to a dopamine fix, and you get that hit through that. What's your thoughts on we're being addicted to that type of emotion?
I agree. Now, to me, that's predictable behavior. If we are, again, because our brains are not equipped to be aware of all people, everything, all information, all points, and at all points in the day. So now what's happening, I used to study a lot of philosophy when I was trying to pull myself out of addiction. I just read voraciously. How do I say this? These are just, cortisol is really a signal that the body uses to respond to what's happening in the environment. It's a very useful hormone because it initiates the mobilization of fatty acids, of glucose, it is in direct correlation with adrenal response, right? It's to make you feel strong and powerful. But if we live in an environment now where our perception of time is so skewed, where we feel like, I just don't have enough time to do everything. I'm aware of everything, this political event, this disaster. I could see why it would make us hyper sensitive and in a almost chronic, dull cortisol, or I would call it a sympathetic state. And of course, since the body is an adaptive machine, we are just adapting to this, and now it becomes everyone's baseline, and they don't even realize they're operating from what you just described. Until again, you take someone out in the forest away from their phone for a week, and they like, my blood pressure is gone. I feel better. I don't understand. Where's the anxiety? It's because you are constantly being conditioned by your environment. It has a profound impact on our brains and, like you said, our cortisol, our stress responses.
I think the thing you said that really was profound is that you said that's become the baseline, and when you look at it, this is the norm for most people. And you are right, man. You know, when you get back to nature or the basics, you unplug from technology and you just unplug from all the BS that goes on in the world and the overstimuli. It makes a huge difference. Impact on things. That's why Kelly's always on vacation, you know, so, okay.
That's why she looks so good. She looks young, man.
Kelly was talking about her place she's going to next week, and I was like, wait, she just got back from a vacation
yesterday. It's a blessed life. You know, Grayson, I met you one time in person, and I have to say I was really impressed by you. We were at Kyle Wilson's Inner Circle Mastermind, and I have a master's degree in clinical physiology, and the depth of your knowledge into biohacking and just this holistic approach that you take to a body, mind, spirit transformation was very, very impressive. And I'd love to dive into some of that. Our listeners love it. One of the things I remember you talking about specifically was light. In fact, you did a whole breakout session. I didn't get to go because I was doing my own breakout session with a group. But let's start with light, if you're okay with that. Talk to us about how is that part of what should be our plan for reverse aging?
Yeah, I won't go too spiritual with it yet, but I mean, essentially we are kind of light, your brain, all the information passing through your nervous system, electricity, it's light. But simply sunlight, all of our biology, all the mitochondria that exist in all the different organs in your body is all synced, something called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is like a little organ in the center of your brain that's linked to all your endocrine system. It's all linked and coordinated or synchronized with the cycles of the sun, your sleep-wake cycles. And unfortunately, I was doing, let me see if that's the exact number. I think it was like 90% of Americans or people in Western industrialized society, about 90% of the time is spent indoors with no meaningful exposure to sunlight, and people are wearing sunscreen, sunglasses, and now we have hypersensitivity to sunlight. People can't even go out for more than 10 minutes getting sunburned. And when you hear these stats, 90% of people don't even really get any sunlight other than when they walk to their car. You could start to understand why we have, I believe it was like 40 to 50% are deficient in vitamin D. They have calcium deficiencies, serotonin deficiencies, dopamine deficiencies, sleep apnea. And now we wonder why. It's because our whole society is structured around moving into one box to another box that's shielding you from light. And then I can go into another tangent where that's connected, because people ask me about, well, what about sunscreen and skin cancer? Well, it's just like exercise. If you have not moved your body in a physical, arduous way in 5 years, and then I make you do a set of 30 push-ups, you will probably not be able to move for the next 5 days. You're going to be so unbelievably sore, and you'll be like, that is horrible. Well, your skin, it's the same thing. It's a matter of tolerance and conditioning. If you are inside every day now, and the only exposure to light you get is artificial blue light, and you finally step out into the sun, yes, especially the ultraviolet light, your skin doesn't even know how to respond to it. But the flip side is true. If you slowly start to wean yourself back to it, condition yourself to it, slowly expose yourself to it, you actually will you become more desensitized, and more importantly, you have something called melanopsin in your eyes, which are directly linked to your photoreceptors, and you actually absorb most light through your eyes. And I find that it actually lowers your risk of sunburn by just allowing yourself not to look directly at the sun, but those photons to actually hit your eyes. And that's another thing, like this idea that in like sunglasses, I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but it was essentially popularized by Audrey Hepburn during I want to say it's like, I'm not big on culture, I'm like an uncultured swine, but I think they would use those bright lights in old Hollywood. So they found that they would close their eyes constantly when they were taking these photos. So what do? Let's put these big glasses on, but they look so dope. Everyone's like, oh, she looks so cool. And it became a trend. And of course, marketing, right, has to justify what we're doing. So you use some scientific studies, see sunlight, it helps with your eyesight, when the reality is you can actually trace a direct link to macular degenerative disorders and sunglasses.
Wow. And people walk outside now and they're like, they can't even take any light exposure at all. Okay. So how can some of us who are 50 plus, most are wearing glasses. Thankfully, I'm not yet, but I could be up close. Anything we could do to improve our eye health? I mean, people will pay big money for this.
So yeah, we have to understand how the body works. I don't like to just say, do this, do X, and Y will happen. Well, why is this happening? What are the underlying mechanisms at play? So you have to understand sunlight is broken into like 8 different wavelengths, and each one is going to penetrate deeper and deeper into your body based on the lengths of the wavelengths of the light itself. And it's all really just affecting your mitochondria and different organs in your brain based on how far it's going into your body. So early morning sun is a big combination of what we know as red light, infrared light. You're getting the highest concentrations early day, late day. And that typically seems to have the most, androgen effect. Like red light specifically impacts the way your mitochondria will generate ATP, but also how your body will build certain proteins, because those two processes are linked. Everything requires energy. Sun is the ultimate energy source for your mitochondria, all of it. So if you would increase their ability to do what they do, you start increase your body's ability to produce and build more proteins. Everything from your eyes, your skins, it's all an assimilation of various protein molecules. Okay, and then that red light, infrared light has a profound impact on that. But all spectrums of light typically will affect your body in this way. It's more about time of the day and how far it's penetrating in your skin. So to answer your question about your eyes, stop wearing sunglasses, literally. And if you want to get, if for whatever reason, maybe you just can't do that, things like red light panels and just exposure to the early morning and late evening sun. But keep in mind, if you have sunglasses on, you're not going to get it. You're actually losing the benefit. So this sounds crazy, but I would get rid of your sunglasses. They're actually damaging your health and they're preventing you from absorbing the full benefit of sunlight.
Wow. So this is about me. So I ride in the morning, I cycle, and at night outside, right? It's like sunrise and sunset. But I usually wear an amber lens, so just no more.
Oh, second, now I can if it's okay, I can add one more caveat to that, because you asked what to do, and then there's so it's more about what not to do as well, which is wearing the sunglasses, and amazing things like these late at night will help. They have the amber ones in the day, because also a big part of it is consistent exposure to artificial blue light, which is what also is wearing down your macula. It's basically wearing down the muscles and the photoreceptors in your eyes. It starts to just break down some of that, plus how it's disrupting how your brain produces melatonin and cortisol. It's also suppressing the ability for your brain to produce melatonin at night. So those two factors can also drastically impact your eyesight.
So where did we go wrong with all the sun block? I mean, lathering up. You see these kids getting lathered up, and isn't there more chemicals in that crap than there is in there? Not to mention, if you're blocking the sun the first 20 minutes, you're not going to get the vitamin D levels up. That's the other issue.
Yes. So that's almost another tangent, but like this idea, same thing with makeup and lotion. It's like, well, if you would not eat that, why would you put it on your skin, which is a permeable membrane? It's absorbing everything. And now, as far as why we do that, it's just marketing. That's it. And it goes back to my initial, more philosophical point, which is your brain cannot differentiate between what is on a screen and what's happening in reality. So if you get an information enough and enough people telling you to do something, enough people are doing it, it's like, well, this is normal. Yeah, I get a sunburn, so I should wear sunscreen. We're not understanding, well, why are we more sensitive to sunlight now? Like, what is in this stuff that we're putting on our skin? Like, how is it actually helping you? We just accept it for what is.
So watch this. So Kelly, we grew up in Jersey. What did you wear?
Baby oil.
We wore baby oil,
Yeah.
and we took, you can't see the sunscreen, we took tin foil and we sat there like this, right?
Yes.
Come on, we didn't worry about any of that crap, so we're fine. So
Same. When I was a kid, I'm 37. I was outside all the time. Like all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I when I go out, I definitely get out in the sun for many, many, many hours there. I don't wear sunblock or any of that stuff. So, but you're right. You do build a tolerance to it. So somewhere along the way, sun got a bad rap. for so many different things. So what would you do? What would you teach somebody who's in Michigan, or in the upper peninsula of Michigan or Minnesota, where they got
Like Seattle,
months
places like that? Yeah.
of darkness? And
Move south.
What should they be doing?
Move south.
Move to darn Florida. No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that easy.
No,
Kelly.
yeah, it's not.
Everybody
It's not.
can just have the jet set lifestyle like some of us here.
Well, I'll say this. So this is kind of pivoting into my next point. For as far as sun exposure goes, you don't even need direct sun exposure. So even if it's hazy outside, it's cloudy, there's still photons in the air. Your body, your brain, your eyes are still absorbing that. So as much exposure as you possibly can, and whenever you can, you get it. Think like a starving man Thanksgiving, Christmas. You know what I mean? Like just get as much of it when you can. Then now we may need to move into kind of synthetic versions of it, which is like red light panels, infrared saunas. I would use those as much as you possibly can if you're truly if you really don't get any direct sunlight on it consistently. I would start investing into that, or go into a place like Vibes, where we have medical grade versions of this technology. Now, I would say other than that, it would be the other 7 principles of health you'd also probably want to focus on as well.
Yeah, well, we know wellness is a $4 trillion industry, and there's a lot of noise out there. There's certainly other natural things we can do. Sunlight is one. Another big one, obviously, is sleep. Costs us nothing. Give us some biohacks on sleep and what the benefits are for reverse aging.
So sleep is honestly, so I look at things this way. So I view things, there's 7 principles, technically 8, but the 8th you don't have the most control over. So you have sleep, we have breath, hydration, sunlight, right? Exercise, nutrition, and your thoughts. I kind of put it in this order, but it's synergistic. So each one can impact the other. Sunlight exposure early morning, just like you do, Kelly, will automatically, as a side effect, improve your sleep. Because guess what? Now your brain is producing cortisol in the morning, neuroadrenaline, like it's supposed to, and it's starting to suppress that and increasing melatonin like it's supposed to at night. So, and that's one thing right out the gate. And which something I forgot to mention was the indoor lighting to improve your sleep. Make indoor lighting match outdoor lighting. Simple. Indirect lighting, amber, low light, soft lighting at night. Just turn it more and more off the later you get. That will I promise you, I've done this with like hundreds and hundreds of people. It was like night and day. Automatically improve their ability to go to sleep. Also, if you are watching hyper-stimulating content that's making you angry at things that you haven't even experienced, well, guess what? It's going to be harder to go to sleep because your nervous system does not know that that is not real, and now you're upset and your body thinks, I'm in danger, I can't go to sleep. How are you going to go to sleep now? That's another component of that. Turn off your phone. Lastly, there's so many ways to improve sleep, but another direct one is like just caffeine. I would cut it off at like 3 p.m. If you start going later and later in the day, you're making it harder and harder again to start to suppress cortisol, so melatonin can be introduced. And caffeine works in conversely with that, right? It's the antithesis. It won't allow you to do that. Those are just direct things you can do right now. Oh, last one, supplement-wise, would be magnesium glycinate. That would be a supplement recommendation that will drastically improve your ability to relax and go to sleep. And then try to make the temperature as cold as you possibly, as not freezing, but like think 65, 67 degrees, because you want your body to get cool. You'll also stimulate your brown fat while you sleep when you do this. It's a survival mechanism. And dark as you possibly can. Make it super, super, super dark. That will, just doing any of those will drastically improve your sleep.
Great tips. I do all of those, and I'll do some chamomile decaf tea and some lavender mist, and those are some of the nighttime routine. So you mentioned the 7, and we can go more into those. So what's the 8th that you said we can't really control?
Environment.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means that's your physical environment. You can't choose where you're born, who your parents are. You can kind of have control over your friendships and your relationships to a degree, but you can't control those people. But if usually if you fix the other 7, you have more agency to change the other aspects of environment.
So I want to dive a little bit more into biohacking here. So I got a question for you. Who do you think gets biohacking right, and who do you think's getting it wrong right now? I think the top 3 are probably Gary Brecka, Brian Johnson, and Dave. What's Dave's last name?
Dave Asprey.
Asprey.
Yeah, I met all of them.
And,
Well, I met kind of like in passing, like shook their hands.
Yeah, that's
and stuff.
okay. Yeah,
they're cool people. They were nice.
Huberman. Yeah, there's
Huberman. Who? I don't really want to say anyone's getting it right or wrong. Like I don't view things from that way. I think
I'll talk some crap. I don't care. So, you know.
No, I will give you, because I don't know them personally, right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of in my own little world of philosophy, books, science, nature, and all that stuff. But I think Andrew Huberman's one of my people I trust the most because he's skeptical of himself. That's what I look at. I'm very skeptical of myself always first. Right? Socrates, like you should be able to question yourself before you question anyone else. And I like his approach to it. I think he is more self-critical. Don't get me wrong, Asprey, he's the guy who kind of pioneered a lot of this, and he set me on my journey.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
But
he called himself the grandfather. Or,
yes,
that's BS.
BS, right? Because all
if anybody
of this
it was sorry, man, Jack LaLanne, and you met. Jack
I was going to say Jack.
Kelly.
Yeah,
there's your
guru, the original, the OG,
the OG of biohacking. So maybe that's what I was leaning towards here. So but overall, I think the guy puts out good content and everything else. But
can I add something to this though? And
sure.
This is a deeper problem. It goes back to social media again. Everyone is giving you the highlight reels, and then that aspect of their personality becomes consolidated and distilled to a marketing format, right? Because it is, by extension, Dave Asprey, that is also now a brand. So his whole image has to be coutoured and crafted to represent a certain persona because he has to sell to people. That's his livelihood now. And unfortunately, the true depth of his soul and his personality will get lost in the chaotic tumble dryer of social media, which I could keep ranting on that all day. I think that is the primary problem. Besides some of the sunlight things, I think that just in general, social media is destroying our brains and our ability to kind of interrelate and like see us as humans, because again, you get highlight reels of people. So you see someone like Gary Brecka and they become this larger than life person, which can kind of create a little bit of ego too, because on the other side of that, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. And especially if you're not smart enough or humble enough to surround yourself with people who be like, nah, bro, stay humble. You ain't that cool yet. Like, I remember you when you were young. You need that too. And that's another issue with the phone because it can be this echo chamber machine.
For sure.
So,
anything you want to say on or add to that, Kelly, or no?
No, we need to definitely be sifting and sorting everything we're hearing, and then we have to go, how does this apply to me?
Yes.
Just because someone else is saying mushrooms is the thing, it's like, well, I don't know about that for me.
Is it the thing for you? And so to bring it back to your initial question about how do we sift through who's right, who's wrong? I think there's truth in each of what they're saying. It's more about application. Is that really useful for you? You may not need these supplements, right? You may not need to do some type of peptide treatment. But you hear that, it's like, oh, look at all the benefit you get from this, but that could be toxic for you. Like you may not need to do some type of like ashwagandha, for instance, right? There's people that have negative side effects to that. Does that make the supplement any less efficacious? No. Some people are really sensitive to creatine and they have horrible reactions to it, but it's an amazing supplement. And that's the issue too with the marketing side of it. We don't look at it, like Kelly pointed out, as, does this actually apply to me? Or is he just selling a supplement or something? And we don't really do that. We typically we view him as this person as an authority, and we just take I'll take this supplement. He recommended that. I'll take that. We're not really looking at the underlying mechanisms of why that works in the first place and who it may work for.
So do you recommend blood work or trial and error? I mean, people are seeing stuff all over the place, and they're like, I need creatine, or I'm going to use caffeine, and.
Do I
recommend? So yeah, obviously, if you can swing it, do blood work, of course.
Yeah, the blood work never lies, for sure. But One of the things that really irks me, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, is that they're now promoting nicotine as an aid. I don't know if you've seen some of the content on that. So about 2 years ago, I put out a content video, "Is smoking the new diet craze?" And it wasn't it was the whole idea that nicotine stimulates, central and the peripheral nervous system. It's the only drug that gets you up and calms you down at the same time. Plus, it's an appetite suppressant. Plus, there's rumors that it burns calories. That is not a good thing to recommend to people.
No.
So I don't think anybody should be saying that. And that's, again, just my belief system after dealing with addiction with smokers for 30 years. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I have seen that trend, right? Especially with like neuro gum and stuff and the nicotine. Like it does have that effect, but there are other substances. There are different mushrooms that have a very similar effect to nicotine. So again, marketing, right?
I mean, lion's mane, just lion's mane.
I was literally about to say that, like lion's mane, exactly. Marketing, though, they find one benefit and they'll create a study to reinforce that benefit and ignore the other aspects or like abstracts within the study. Is like, oh yeah, but if you keep doing this, you may have cancer, or you could create sleep apnea. There's a lot of other issues that come with it. And I don't do it personally. It's ironic too. We work so hard to get away from the marketing from the cigarette industry. It's like a comeback. But I mean, some people want to enjoy a cigar. I know some people that do the gum and they get some benefit from it. But like anything, it's just like grain of salt, man. Like, okay, wine, if you drink a glass of wine, yeah, maybe it can lower blood pressure, it can make you feel good. But if I were to start turning that into a recommendation, right, I could isolate that and be like, see, it lowers blood pressure, it relaxes you, increase melatonin, like lowered anxiety. And if I were to just hear that on paper, it's like, oh yeah, drink wine all the time, every day. Makes sense. But we got to get full context. It's like, yeah, but this is supposed to be in moderation. And unfortunately, most human beings have moderation, I think, is nonsense now. Now we've reached in a new paradigm where most people have like the attention span and the impulse control of an 8-year-old child.
Popcorn brain, they call it.
Yeah. So now unfortunately now people are going to hear that and they're just going to go full send with the nicotine and what do we do about it? You just have to have conversations like this and hopefully you educate people. That's about it.
So let me ask you a question here. What are 3 to 5 biohacking tips somebody could do on a budget, let's say for under $50 or $100 or something like that?
Yeah, the 7 principles, man. I guarantee you every chronic disease, every existential crisis, psychological disorder is linked and rooted to deficiencies in probably multiple ones. So this is what I tell to a lot of my clients, a lot of younger people that I come into contact with that are telling me they suffer from anxiety disorders or sleep disorders, or maybe there's like chronic knee pain, things like this. And these are people that are under the age of 30, by the way. It's rampant. I tell them, like, okay, before we move to a chemical intervention or a surgical intervention, I'm like, okay, what that means is you're going to ingest a substance that's going to drastically alter your brain chemistry, or you're going to get another human to cut into your tissue and remove tissue. Before we do that, how much sleep do you get a day? When was the last time you actually sat in the sun? How often do you stare at your screen and have screen people tell you how to think and feel? How much water do you actually drink on a day-to-day basis? When was the last time you purposely moved your body in an invigorating manner? What are you eating day to day? What food? And when was the last time you actually sat and just slowed your breathing down and took a moment to pause and just step away from the endless stream of nonsensical thoughts that's invading your brain and give yourself time to just be alone? I would argue that I bet most of the people you talk to don't do any of this stuff. They have not given any attention to anything I just mentioned, and all of it's free. And that's my primary point. If takeaway for any of your audience is what's going to happen if we are not careful is the incentive structures that move technology forward, our economy forward. If we do not change the incentive structures to human well-being and humanity, we are going to lose sight of what that is. So how do we solve this? Well, what do human beings need since time immemorial to survive and sustain and at least be functional happy? Well, it's the things I mentioned. If you're not getting, you can look at it. If you're not getting enough sleep, it increases 50% all-cause mortality. If you're not hydrated, it's increasing all disease. If you're if you're not getting any sunlight, it's increasing your chance of all. The list goes down. But once you start to focus on these 7 things, these 7 things are what make you human. It is your physical reality, your physical body. And I can understand now why we live in a world of screens and language and symbols, where we're here now, why we are losing sight of this thing. So I would say everyone, not 3 things, just look at the 7 principles and which 3 could you go full send on. Maybe even just pick 2, because like I said, one will improve aspects of the other. And so like an example, if you have anxiety disorders, that usually means there's no agency of thought. Like a lot of your thought, your brain doesn't understand that you're safe. Doesn't know you feel unsafe. It's coping with uncertainty. That creates existential dread. You're not going to fix that with meditation if you only get 3 hours of sleep a day and you don't work out and all you eat is fast food. So that's why it's like, but I guarantee you, if you start getting better sleep, you exercise a lot and you start becoming physically powerful, like you feel stronger, that in itself will start to improve the quality of how you perceive yourself.
You talked about magnesium glycinate, and I'm glad you recommend the proper type, because too many people take magnesium citrate, or what's the other one? I forget. Those are usually the grocery store ones.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the benefits of that? Because I think that's a really easy hack that, I hate the word hack, guys, by the way.
Yeah.
And then what about the multi? There's a lot of there's a lot of multi-magnesiums too.
Yes.
So people are always confused. Do I get the multi-magnesium?
Well, they all have different benefits. Like some of them, the citronate, basically, they do the opposites. Like it's more about regulating signals and electrical impulses to muscles. And glycinate is so important because it's basically all the signals that make muscles contract. It's kind of complicated, but it is slowing and suppressing some of that, which in turn stimulates the production of other hormones in your brain that allow your blood vessels to dilate, sending more blood and oxygen to your extremities, but it's also getting your blood pressure to lower, which helps your whole body relax and actually cool itself down. And what I mentioned before about having to go to sleep, you want to be cooler and your muscles need to be relaxed. Like again, if you're looking at a screen that's telling you that you need to be fearful of some new war, well, what happens, you don't realize that thoughts are linked to body. Your muscles are actually preparing for a fight. That's what that signal is going to your brain. What's so cool about magnesium glycinate, especially if you're people that have to work out late, it will help expedite that relaxation process. It's helping your brain produce all the hormones necessary. It's helping create an environment that your body can completely relax, which in turn enhances the restorative benefits of everything that's going on when you sleep.
And the other thing is you really can't, most people say, well, I'll just get it in my diet. It is impossible to get proper nutrition in the diet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take in non-organic food, you're taking in glyphosate. Glyphosate is a chelator. It chelates to minerals. So, the vegetable that you think has magnesium in it and all the other minerals in it is deficient. So it's just crazy what takes place.
And some of the foods is even pulling those minerals from your body.
Yeah, so very good. So Kelly.
I could just take one supplement when I was traveling, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
It would be the magnesium glycinate. If I had to pick one, I would not be without that one.
Yes,
So
same.
that's a great one. Grayson, my kid's greatest frustration growing up was, Mom, water doesn't fix everything. And I'm like, well, just drink, whatever they brought to me. Well, just drink water. Well, just go to sleep then. We'll just go outside and play.
Yes.
They're like, that doesn't fix everything. We got real stuff here. And now at 24 and 25, I think they're both very healthy and fit, and they really value.
And now they understand. Mom was right. Mom was right.
No, they're never going to say that. So no, they're not going to say that. So the other thing is magnesium is also needed to convert tryptophan in your body to melatonin and serotonin.
Oh yeah.
So if you do suffer with a little bit of anxiety or restlessness or any of that, it can help you produce serotonin. A lot of people don't realize serotonin is produced in the entire nervous system in the gut. So
in the gut,
people think when you say serotonin, they think the brain.
Yep.
Really, no.
You have two brains. You have neurons in your stomach. Like it's wild. It's a whole nother brain. And then this makes sense when you understand how your body is receiving signals through different ways. One of the ways it does that is through your mouth as it goes. So your body's interpreting what's happening in your environment, what foods are available, what resources are available. And one way it does that is through your gut-brain axis.
And let's go there. Let's talk a little bit about how to repair gut health, especially when people get midlife.
Yeah. Well, magnesium, great. It's a great supplement to actually repair gut health. I would say with probiotics, just there's a lot of, it's something I'm still kind of studying right now. It can get kind of convoluted. From what my understanding, you do want to alternate and you want to mix. You have to change a little bit. But even the branding, you just got to make sure that some of it needs to be refrigerated. A lot of people don't realize if you're buying those over the counters that's just sitting there, like that shit's dead. It's dead. There's nothing. It's not alive material. They're just selling you that. Really, it's for me. I try to do a lot of foods now. I do a lot of fermented foods, a lot of different variations of kimchi, sauerkraut, a lot of different kinds of Greek yogurt with the fat. That is key. Same thing with things like milk, goat milk. If you're getting like homogenized milk, things that are processed, well, you're destroying all of the cultures that are in there that actually feed and help cultivate the culture of your microbiome, your gut bacteria. And so I think the diet is the biggest component of that. What you're consuming, and if all you're consuming is highly processed, highly palatable foods, and even some of the fatty, like the monosaturated, the fatty acids they're using to bind a lot of that can actually disrupt your gut bacteria's ability to break materials down and process them. It can actually start to destroy them. And it can start to affect, from my understanding, because fat cells, they'll typically bond together. It's almost like they're abstract bricks that are trying to lay flat, and they basically create a cascade of little inflammatory explosions that can also drastically impact your gut bacteria and can kill some of them in your stomach because they're like tiny little chemical reactions because of the unstable nature of the fatty acids we have to use to keep that food together because it's so fake. And it's like it spends months just being transported. So as far as what to do to improve it, I'm telling fermented foods are incredible. They're stinky, yes, but they're amazing. Like I remember when I started incorporating that like consistently, it's these things, it's systemic, you don't notice it. I became sick less and less and less. And as well, in conjunction to that though, anything you can do to regulate stress, because they're linked, right? It's not necessarily chicken or egg. They are directly linked to each other, will also improve your gut microbiome because stress seems to have a profound impact on the way your body's ability to digest things. Because when your body thinks it's under threat, it will typically mobilize and send blood into your extremities and not your digestive system. And you have a lot of your digestive enzymes exist in your blood.
And you are starting to see more and more buzz about the microbiota. If you have an autoimmune disease, if you have eczema, if you have any autoimmune diseases, if you have chronic fatigue syndrome, it is all 100% tied to your gut. That's what the latest research says. So
your entire immune system is basically cultivated, and it's regulated through your gut.
I think my favorite gut thing is semi-green yellow bananas because you get the resistant starches in them, and that seems to be a very easy peasy thing. So resistant starch is not really talked about too much, but I talked about them 25 years ago, the benefits of what they do. So
what specifically, like, how does that? Someone else just recently mentioned
resistant starch helps you convert and produce butyrate in your gut, which helps you repair your gut.
Okay.
So that's what it does.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Okay.
We're all learning things.
Yes, I love that. Very interesting.
So even like a potato, most people would say a potato is horrible, but when you have a cold potato, it is filled with resistant starches, and it's actually I think it's one of the top 5 foods on a satiety index as far as it satisfies you. So, potatoes have gotten such a bad rap. But, a cold potato or even cold pasta or cold chickpea salad, those all create resistant starches. So, when I first learned about that, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I could teach this to people. So, and then do this myself for sure.
And I feel like I've been doing that just inadvertently, right? Like when you focus on starch, like denser carbohydrates, you just in turn you are releasing more. You feel more satiated. You're actually stimulating satiety hormones in your brain now. Same thing, just coupling that with dense animal-based proteins or just whole food-based proteins. Again, will do the very similar things, has similar benefits. But I didn't know that about the bananas.
Yeah. So what's your diet like, man? What'd you eat this morning?
Nothing yet.
Okay, so you're
Intermittent fasting.
okay.
And
Gotcha.
I do this as a consequence of schedule and my personal preference and choice. As far as what I eat is predominantly a lot of meat and fruit. I like frozen fruit. And like I said, I'll do little kimchi salads and stuff like that. Maybe some lentils. I always try to have some type of big salad or something with I'll throw as much probiotics, kimchi, vegetables, maybe a little bit of fruit in there, some nuts. Predominantly though, my diet is very boring. It is just as much steak as I can possibly eat and as much mangoes, pineapples, and blueberries and raspberries that I can eat. And then I typically, I more or less use intermittent fasting. I mean, yes, I can clear something up with intermittent fasting. Y'all probably already know this.
Go ahead.
So a lot of people don't realize you actually don't really garner the neurological benefits, the systemic neurological benefits, or the autophagenic benefits, unless you're like 2 days, 3 days deep in this. The only benefit you're really getting, at least what is being documented right now, what we can actually study, it seems just to be, it makes it easier to be in a caloric deficit because you're seeing very similar benefits between people in a caloric deficit day to day versus people doing intermittent fasting day to day. Remember, I'm not talking about long-term fasting, just intermittent. It seems to be it's more about the calorie deficit itself that's garnering the benefit, especially in terms of your brain converting fat to like ketones. So I use intermittent fasting just because it's a really easy way to compress my eating windows down. And also I'm just really busy. I don't like to eat all the time. And there obviously is cognitive benefits to fasting, especially as you start to adapt to it. I do feel more energized when you eat food. Where's blood going to go? It's going to go to your digestive. It's going to go to your stomach. So it does make sense why you get a little lethargic if you eat a lot. So for me personally, if it's my lifestyle, I'm very active. I move a lot. I like to be energized, moving quick in the middle of the day.
I don't think that's boring eating because you're eating the same foods over and over. That's called setting up a structure that's very consistent. Most people say to you that you should eat the same 3 or 4 things all the time to make it easy, so you don't have to. Or you can eat on autopilot, and you are right that when you do a time restriction, I think with just a basic 16/8, the average studies show you knock out 250 to 300 calories less per day. Just by doing that. So
yeah, it makes it, tell all my clients it's a tool like anything. It's not a cure. None of this is. It is a tool that can make controlling your calories a lot easier. But it also, what I found, it also changes the relationship to food because most people, like most things, are in our culture now are extremely impulsive. And so what they're doing is not directly linked to a necessity anymore. It's linked to emotional reasons. So they're eating predominantly out of impulse and just lack of, it's just basically just being pulled day to day by all the events of the day. So there's no conscious awareness of what they're eating, why they're eating it. They're just kind of doing it because they have no choice. I got to eat something. So that just becomes the trend. And most people are just eating impulsively.
I would definitely agree with that. Kelly, you were going to say something?
Yeah, what do you think about, I know you like the frozen, and it is because they are the freshest because they get them and then they freeze them versus by the time they get them to the store and, time has gone by since they've been picked, so they're degrading down. I was going to say, oh my goodness, I just lost my train of thought. I don't want to shift gears off nutrition because it's so good. But, I know, greens, so I eat a big salad, sometimes 2 a day, versus juicing greens versus powdered greens. And do you use all of them?
No, I don't use, I'm a minimalist at heart. I'm just a simple philosopher. That's really how I view myself. I mean, if that's the only way you can do it, then do the powdered greens. It goes back to optimal versus what is practical for your life. Optimally,
Fresh.
obviously, you're going to lose out on a lot of the digestive benefit of actually eating whole foods. Now, let's say if your goal is, I want to lose body fat, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to regulate my appetite. You drinking juice, juicing everything is not going to help you at all, because you're essentially sidestepping the important digestive processes that goes into breaking down all of that material, which in turn you are burning some of the calories consuming it, but also from my understanding, you typically will stimulate more satiety hormones in your brain because your body has to process all that fiber and all of the other nutrients in it, while if you put that in a blender or a NutriBullet, it's doing all of that for you.
What about powdered BS greens?
Man,
A1G.
I don't buy it. I always got sick when I tried that stuff, like really like nauseated, and yeah, it's like how do you prove efficacy of something like that? Because in my mind, when you start to break something down like that and it's transported and it's stored, you're going to, like, those compounds will degrade. They just will.
Yeah.
But optimally, like practically, if that is the only way you can consume greens, it's probably better than not.
Better than nothing, yeah. I would agree with you on that for sure. But if you want to spend your $100 there, I mean, it's not cheap, that stuff, for sure.
No, it is $95 a month. I'm not doing it. I just know it is. Grayson, shifting gears a little bit. So you probably train quite a few people our age, 50 and above. And one of the things that we're hearing is about just joint tightness, whether it's frozen shoulders, stiff hips. What are some of your pointers on how people can get mobility back in their joints? It's so important as we age, and they don't, understand stretching or flexibility. What tips would you give to help someone increase like hip and shoulder joint mobility?
On my end, it's just like my camera's just freezing. So if I make weird expressions, I'm just responding to that. As far as joint pain goes, so let's understand physics. So muscles are used to generate and absorb force. The less muscle you have, where will your body distribute that force? Into your joints and connective tissues. It's very simple. So the first step is build a lot of muscle. That should be every human being's primary goal, is to get as strong as possible, to build as much muscle as your genetics will allow you to do. And that will actually, I know people will see a bodybuilder and they'll be like, how is he? Well, that's not mobile. He doesn't look like he's very flexible. Well, you're conflating something. It's a false equivalency in philosophy. You're looking at a guy or a person that's on a ridiculous amount of exogenous steroids and who has incredible genetics and whose whole life is just about accumulating as much muscle as possible. That is not healthy. It's a sport. But as far as joint pain, the first step, if you are very weak, all the chondroitin, all the glucosamine, the collagen will not help you. It will not. So that would be the first step, and then hydration is a component of that. Most people, like I said before, I wanted to say the study was like 40 to 50% of the population is basically chronically dehydrated. And if you cannot create synovial fluid, your muscles are primarily water, all of this is going to drastically impact the systemic inflammation in your body. So if you're poorly hydrated, your joints are, you're going to feel it. You will be more inflamed. And if you are extremely weak and you have no muscle, well, all of the impact from gravity, day-to-day movement is being distributed into your joints. And the weaker you are, the more likely your body will have weird compensations as you move throughout the day, which in turn will cause movement imbalances, which can lead to things like sciatica, hip displacement, knee pain, the list goes on. And even rheumatic conditions, arthritis, while it can't be directly prevented because it's just a matter of aging and thermodynamics, right, entropy, but there's ample studies that show just by building more muscle, you will prevent the symptoms, you will mitigate the symptoms of those disorders.
That's good. Yeah, as people get older, they're losing muscle at such a fast rate.
Yes, I believe it's like, yeah, it's like
1% a year.
Yep.
they say.
After
It's even
35.
three, and I think for women,
Get
it's
ready,
like 3 to
Grayson.
5.
Get ready. You're getting there 1% a year
Now,
after
now
40, man.
I will
So,
say, as a caveat to that study, though, remember they're looking at people. I think y'all mentioned this with the vitamins. This is something that I found interesting. Most of the people they're looking at are already weak and deficient in other areas as well. Same thing with when you look at vitamin deficiencies or the vitamin standards. Those are all based on people that were deficient, ironically. So now, like, you can definitely offset a lot of that by doing very specific types of strength training or muscle building workouts. Now, I can even get into that if y'all want.
Kelly?
Well, I want to be respectful of your time too, Grayson. So let's just say if you, this is our last few minutes with the audience, and you wanted to look into the camera and give any message, and we do want to find out, what you do at your clinic and your services also, but any last tips that you want to share with our Fit Over 50 Life audience, we'll let you take it away. You choose.
Okay. Yes, last tips. So 7 principles. Look at your life. How much sleep am I getting? How much water am I drinking? Okay. Am I learning to control my breathing patterns? Am I conscious of that? How much sunlight am I getting on a day-to-day basis? Okay. How much exercise am I actually getting? Am I doing things to really strengthen my body? Is my food supporting my goals, my health, or is it just for pleasure? How much of it am I eating? What am I eating? And lastly, what am I thinking about? What am I choosing to concentrate on a day-to-day basis? What type of content am I watching? What type of music am I listening? Pay attention to these 7 things, and I think you will be prepared, more prepared to deal with the upcoming chaos that will ensue with the advent and the progression of AI. And now I'll give a little plug for my business. I run a business called Vibes Lifestyle with my business partner, Brandon, who also is a co-founder as well. And together we have built a space that brings a community of like-minded people around health, wellness, holistic modalities. We do kickboxing, functional strength training, cryotherapy, infrared sauna, red light therapy, esthetician services, nutrition, all integrated and combined to create systems that will genuinely create lifelong lifestyle change and a community to support you throughout that process. And hopefully it's our small way of maybe changing some of the paradigms and our cultural incentives moving forward so we can move the human being back to the center of how we create businesses, how we craft society.
What is your most requested program, machine, or in your clinic?
The most right now, it's probably going to be the red light and the cryo.
Yeah.
Those are the most popular. But we also do sensory deprivation. I have a feeling you're going to start seeing that trending.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. Can you explain exactly what that is?
Yeah, sensory deprivation, you are in a little pod that is removing all sensory stimuli, light, sound. You're also in magnesium-enriched water, Epsom salt water, so it allows your body to float, so you are weightless, plus the water is heated precisely to the human body temperature.
Hey, Kelly, have you done a float yet or no?
I did once, one of those pods. Yeah.
Did you? I haven't done it yet, so
I did a
highly
salt
recommend.
room and a float pod on one of my girls' trips. It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
yeah. They close you in, those things, right? So, I don't know. Somewhere along the way, in my early 50s, I developed a little claustrophobia, so I don't know if I'm going to be getting in one of those things. So
I will say this: they're really large, so you're not it's not as close together.
It was Spirit Airlines' fault. They stuck my
That makes
ass in a
sense.
corner chair with 2 very big gentlemen next to me, and it was an overnight flight, and I got claustrophobic because I was like, no, I can't get out of here. It's a true story.
I think that's how that usually starts.
So,
Spirit Airlines, most traumas. Yes, but I would say this: something like sensory deprivation is instrumental if you are having issues with some type of anxiety disorder, even sleep apnea. It will create the most profound sense of relaxation that you have ever experienced, especially if you're new to some of this stuff. Now, if you're already an avid meditator, I think it could also have compounded benefits, not just for trying to, not just for peace, relaxation, but to even solve very profound existential problems, or maybe it could be a problem within your business. A lot of like UFC fighters are using it now, CEOs are using it, because think of it this way: when you are no longer inundated with all this external stimuli that is extraneous and unnecessary, the brain can consolidate, collapse, and organize information appropriately, because
So
it's
people are
more
familiar with
energy
this.
efficient.
You're floating in magnesium-rich water, which absorbing magnesium through your body is much better than popping a supplement. So,
Way better.
so
And then there's that benefit by itself. So.
the amount of reduction in inflammation you will have by doing that is incredible.
Incredible.
Then that's like taking an Epsom salt bath.
Yep.
Same thing. You feel a lot better when you take one of those. But then the whole floating, you'll lose your senses. I mean, I definitely want to try that.
I would try it once. Everyone should try
Come
it
to
once.
Texas, Mark. We'll go together.
Come to Texas.
Yeah, we got to start doing some of this
Come
stuff. here.
over. Come to Vibes. Come to us. We got you. We got you, Mark.
I've never done cryo, but I'm an avid cold plunger, so.
Yeah, I like the cryo and cold plunge. It's all good. Well, Grayson, we're so appreciative of your time. We love everything you shared today about resetting and rebuilding. It definitely encourages us and our audience. We hope you're doing big things at Vibes. We'd love to promote what you're doing and send people your way, and just believe it's going to have a huge multiplication effect. So keep going. I want to encourage you. It's very brave what you did to open a facility like that, and the world needs more of it. So thanks again for your time. And then what's your website, or what's the best place for people to find you? Instagram?
Yeah, so I have my own personal Instagram, but ours it's going to be Vibes LS. We have Vibes LS Bedford, and we have Vibes LS The Colony. The website is vibesls.com. Very simple. My own personal Instagram is Satori Fitness Grayson, and that's my own personal Instagram. I don't post on there as much now, but yeah. So Vibes LS Bedford, Colony, or vibesls.com is the best way to find us.
Awesome. Well, you really helped out our listeners and Mark and I today. So thank you so much, Grayson.
And thank you guys. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Grayson, thanks for being on, man. You got the knowledge, man. You definitely have the passion, and you could see it and you can hear it. You walk the walk, you talk the talk. Appreciate you spending some time with our little family here and our listeners and our watchers here. That's a wrap. Thank you all for your two greatest resources, your time and your attention. We value it, and we will see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye now.